Hello, hi. Okay, so if you don't know, I do this thing on Patreon where I make music, and people that want to support that and kind of get more behind the scenes information and maybe more kind of exclusive content and things like that, and just maybe more access to me, are able to support me monthly. And we reached one of our kind of stretch goals. So one of the things that I'm going to be doing every month is doing a live video, where I collect questions from fans, from patrons, from anyone, and I will answer those live and hopefully not embarrass myself too much. So I'm probably just going to do like a few because I'm really tired. I don't know. And also probably a lot of these have like long answers / stories attached to them. So the first question from one of my patrons is, what song are you most proud of and why? And I've been like thinking a lot about this because that's a really tricky question. It's kind of like who's your favorite kid? I would say probably like the song I'm most proud of having written is the song Countdown. That was a song I wrote back in 2009. And it's about kind of the process of grieving losing a loved one. And it was something really personal for me. And it was one of the first really personal songs that I'd written that I wanted to share with more people. And I played it at a show in California in like 2011 after I returned from Vietnam. And this person who was at that show came up to me, and they'd never seen me before. They were there for the person I was supporting. They came up and said, "Hey, like I just wanted to let you know that song, really meant a lot to me because I just lost someone that was really close to me, and I've been going through this really hard time." And that was kind of one of the first times that I recognized that, my music actually has the potential to help other people with some of these difficult issues, and maybe also just not feel so alone. And a lot of other people's music does that for me, but it wasn't something I'd really considered that I'd considered I would be able to do for other people. I mean, I'd sort of hoped, so that was very reaffirming. It's also one of the only songs that I've gone into writing knowing exactly what I was going to write. That might sound kind of silly, but usually the songs, I'll work on them for a while before I know what they're going to be about. And at that point, then I can sort of start restructuring, revising, and really zeroing in on how I want to say it. But until then, usually I just kind of let the music guide me and sort of tell me, okay, what does this song need to be about? So the next question, personal favorite, this one's totally anonymous, so I can't even call this person out. They said, would you rather pee a marble or poop a softball? I can say very clearly I would rather poop a softball. That's just an easy choice for me. Partly because of nerve endings and sensitivity, and also partly because like one of those is meant to pass solid things and one of them is really not. So yeah. Next question is, have you ever written a song about someone that you felt needed their permission before sharing? The short answer is yes. The long answer is yes, but I didn't ask permission, and I probably should have. There's a song of mine called Carousel that's on my last EP, and I wrote that one back in 2009, and it's about a really close friend of mine, and I never talked to that person about it. I never told them that I wrote this song that was kind of about them until I was playing a show, and that person was in the audience. And I kind of launched into my usual spiel about the song. I was like, oh yeah, this is, about one of my really close friends and, sort of the difficulties there of like trying to get them to be open and vulnerable with me and feeling like it wasn't happening and getting really frustrated. And like, I started into that speech and I realized, like 30 seconds into it that like that person was right there. And I was like, okay. So then I had this choice of like, do I tell them that the song is about them now, or do I just kind of let that slide and try and pretend like it wasn't? And I opted to go ahead and tell them, like, yeah, actually, this is about you. And I did that kind of publicly, and I feel maybe a little bit embarrassed by that, or maybe a little bit of regret for that. I think probably would have been best discussed privately, but I am not perfect. Let's see, maybe two more. Actually, this one is kind of two questions, so I will sort of, I'll call this a twofer, and we'll end it after this. So the question is, what advice would you give to someone starting to practice guitar for the purpose of songwriting, / what might you have liked to have known when you started? And then what are the areas that you would focus on to get beyond just practicing individual chords or learning songs from other artists? So the second part of that is definitely easier to tackle. I would say beyond individual chords and learning other songs, which are both really great ways to get started learning guitar if you are not taking lessons, I would recommend focusing a little bit on music theory. There are a lot of online resources now. There are some books, and I'm happy to send you some suggestions there if you'd like them. And just a basic understanding of music theory will go a long way, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to make art, right? And you're trying to make art with tools, first of all, but also with material, right? And the material that you kind of have to work with is like a structure, is different chords, different things like that, and it helps you to really understand, first of all, what's available, right? So if you're not familiar with what different sorts of chord progressions are out there, or what different sorts of interesting modulations or transitions between parts you might have available. You probably have sort of an unconscious sense of those from listening to music and maybe from studying and learning other people's songs. But what's really helpful is to have a really conscious understanding of, okay, here I am. Where do I want to go next? And what are my options, really, as far as, depending on what kind of music you want to make. Sometimes you're going to be a little less traditional, sometimes a little bit more traditional. But I would say definitely learning some basic music theory is really helpful, just to sort of know what tools are available. Like what paintbrushes do I have to choose from when I'm working on this mural? Or what types of paint are going to be best for this material or for this medium. Those are really important questions to ask yourself. And the more knowledge you have, the more understanding of those tools and when to use them and when not to use them you will have as well. So as far as advice when you're starting to practice guitar for the purpose of songwriting is don't get frustrated, and you got to keep going. It's really easy to get started and you have this wonderful idea and this vision in your head of what you want the song to sound like, and you're not able to play it, actually. Like, it's easy for your vision to outmatch your skill level. And that can be really frustrating when you have this, what you think is a really great idea, and you just can't make it happen because your hands won't move the right way, or your fingers won't move the right way, or your voice, it doesn't sit right in your voice yet. And rather than try and cut corners and limit your own vision, I would encourage you to keep working as hard as you can to try and get to a point where you can do that, and then continue to write things that challenge you. Continue to write things that you're not sure you can do. Whether or not you end up sharing them is kind of up to you, but I will tell you that the process of mastering skills that are currently beyond your reach is the best way to improve at anything. And all the more so, I think, when it comes to artistic forms that rely on technical skill, because it's easy to look at music as a talent, but there's a lot of work that goes into it, right? And I'm sure you know that, but as you are continuing to put that work into it, you may not see progress as quickly as you'd like, and it's easy to get discouraged. And sometimes there's actually there's pain involved when you're first learning guitar, especially if you're on an acoustic guitar and kind of heavier gauge strings. It can kind of hurt. So keep in mind that that's part of the process. It's not forever. None of it's forever, and you're going to get better. And yeah, just don't give up. I would say that's probably the best advice I could give you is continue to challenge yourself and continue to work as hard as you can to rise to that challenge. And if you fall short, then that doesn't mean you failed. It just means there's more work to be done. I think I'm going to call it there. Yeah. Thanks for watching, everyone. I really appreciate it. I assume that this is something I can download. I don't really know anything about Instagram, so if I'm able to like save this to my phone and upload it to like Instagram TV or to like Facebook or YouTube or whatever, I'm gonna do that. I'll share it. In the meantime, if you do want to support me on Patreon, you can do that. It's patreon.com/Court Huang. Yeah, I'll see y'all next month for the next Ask Me Anything. If you want to send me questions, I'll be sure to post the link to it's like a Google form, so you can submit anonymously. You don't have to tell me who you are, unless you want me to, to sort of send that back to you and let you know, hey, I answered your question. But I'll never publicly announce it. So, yeah, thanks a lot. Love you very much. And I'll be releasing new videos probably pretty soon. So keep an eye out for that as well. Bye.